Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Magic with Zuby. My name is Zuby, and if you're brand new to this show, the show is all about a little well-known podcast called Magic the Gathering. Did I say little well-known podcast? Little well-known card game called Magic the Gathering. And we're not going to edit that out. We're just going to go live with it. So, I've gotten a new light, if you haven't tell with my whole streaming setup. And is my hair going like gray, or is this just the light reflecting off my hair? I mean, I know I've got gray hairs and all that stuff. I'm too young for all these gray hairs. And I'm kidding. I'm only 34. Yeah, I'm 34, okay? And I'm like too young for all this gray hair here. I'm too young for this stuff. Anyway, so we've got quite an awesome show for you. We brought on the amazing Radical Mari, a Twitch streamer from Hawaii. And we had an amazing conversation. I had so much fun talking with her. We talked about, I know I say, well, we talk about, well, everything. We really did just talk about everything. We talked about magic in Hawaii, talked politics, talked, just struggles and plights of people and just everything in between. Some D&D chat in there too. Just everything. Everything was just on the table, laid out there. And I had a great time, and I hope you all really enjoy it. But before we get into it, just a few little announcements. You can help support the show at patreon.com/magicwithzuby. You can also find me on Twitter at magicwithzuby, on Instagram at magic__zuby, and you can find my TikTok at mtgzuby. And you can email me at mtgzuby@gmail.com. All the links are in the show notes below. And we have one quick little ad for Magic for Normies, and this show is also sponsored by cardsphere.com, the best place to buy, trade, and sell your Magic singles. And we will get on to the interview with Mari, Radical Mari.
And that is how you beat the latest standard meta with Abzan.
Ugh, it feels like there's no Magic content out there for someone like me. Someone who doesn't want to be competitive. Someone who is...
Who is a normie?
Yeah, exactly! A normie!
Well, have I got the show for you, the all-new Magic for Normies show.
Hi, I'm Pixie.
And I'm Zuby.
Together, we host the all-new
Magic for Normies.
It is the Magic the Gathering show for all your normie needs. We don't care what deck got into the top 8 or what deck is winning. We care about having fun playing Magic.
That's right, Pixie. You can watch us on Pixie's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/PixieKittenPlays and catch the VOD on our YouTube channel, Pixie Kitten Plays. If audio is your thing, you can find episodes on the Magic with Zuby RSS feed.
Magic for Normies.
Hey everybody, Zuby here, and I'm back with you once again with an awesome Hawaiian streamer, Mari, aka Radical Mari. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Zuby. I'm super excited to sit down and just talk story with you for a bit.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned something pretty interesting that and I think I've seen you talk about this before on Twitter, that you play D&D.
Yes.
As well. I know this is a Magic podcast, but it's, if you know me, I love D&D as well, and so how much D&D do you play or get to play, or?
I have an ongoing campaign that I've been part of for a little over a year, and that we meet up weekly. I'm currently part of technically 3 D&D groups. One of them hasn't really started yet, but the other one is just kind of like sporadic. We meet whenever we can, and then I have my main one, which I've been doing. But yeah, I've been playing D&D since like 2015, 2016. So just playing around off and on for a while, and now I'm finally like getting serious and doing as much as I can. It's really fun.
That's awesome. So how long have you been playing Magic for too?
Magic is, I think it was 2018, 2019.
Okay.
So I've been playing D&D longer than Magic, but Magic I got into because of Arena, which was for me a really easy way to get into the game without being intimidated by a lot of stuff. I like
plus a much cheaper way to get in the game too.
Yes. So my first exposure to Magic, I was in university and I was really good friends with a guy, Patrick, and he introduced me to Magic. He showed me cards. He kind of taught me a little bit of the mechanics. He's like, you should really play. But I was like, this isn't for me. This stuff is, there's too much going on, too much scary stuff. But then I came across Arena. I'm like, this is easy. I could totally figure this out. So now that's it. So Patrick, if you're listening, I'm very sorry that I didn't take you up all the way back then. I should have, but I'm here now.
That's awesome. So you're streaming Arena, and I just recently saw that I think you streamed some Commander. Was it that you got your first EDH deck as well too recently?
Yes. Do you know the content creator JD Greenidge?
Yeah, I've had him on the podcast and I love him. I love JD.
Yeah, he's such fantastic energy, and he's so loving and affectionate. We were talking offhanded. He and a few other content creators had played Commander, and I just had mentioned like, oh, I've always wanted to try this, but I don't have a deck. And like, not even like 2 weeks later, he had sent me a full deck, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so we set up a Commander day where I played with JD. Played with our mutual friends. There is Kurohitsuki. He's another content creator. And then one new guy that I met named London, and he's starting to stream, but he's fantastic. All four of us, it was really good energy going on there. I loved it. And I really want to play again, but I'm trying not to play too much because I don't want to get like burned out by it.
Yeah, well, what makes Commander fun is when you have multiple decks to choose from. So your first deck that you have, who is it right now?
It's the 7-drop Teysa, Envy of Ghosts, right?
Oh, okay.
Envoy, what's her name? But yes.
It's one of there's like 3 of them, I think. I can never remember which one.
She's the beefy one. She's big and she's strong and she's beautiful. I love her.
Is that the one where like you sack 3 creatures and exile a creature or something like that? Or
No. She's the one which has protection from creatures. So she gets the field, you can attack other people without worrying about it. If a creature tries to attack the player, that creature is destroyed.
Oh, dang. I hate that Teysa.
I know. Sorry. I learned pretty quickly that when she's on the field, she's hard to get off.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's Orzhov colors, though, so it's really hard to ramp in that unless you're putting on a bunch of rocks.
Yeah, you definitely need a lot of mana rocks for that. No, that's awesome. So what do you think of the format so far?
I like it. I feel like personally there's been something that's been missing for me in terms of Magic from the standard point of view. I don't play a lot of historic, maybe a little bit, but with Commander, it's a really fantastic way to really mix up the formula, be able to play with multiple people. Lots of crazy stuff can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of community members that were in my chat that were just sitting there like, I have no idea what's going on, but this is fantastic to watch. And I was like, that's how I feel as well. One thing I will say, Arena has made me very lazy. So if like the triggers don't go off automatically, you have to physically call them. So I've got to get better at that essentially. But
no, I know what you mean. Because I've been playing Magic off and on since I was 10, and when back in 2012 when M13 came out, I haven't stopped since then. So I had my run of like doing competitive Magic and, doing all those triggers. But since I stopped playing a lot of paper and go to Arena now, and I still do Commander on stream, I know what you mean. Like, I'm so lazy. Like, I forget triggers all the time now. And it's a lot to remember. The other thing with doing Commander, though, for a newer player, you're like exposed to a humongous card pool. Where you're going to see cards you've never heard of. I mean, even with all my years of playing, there's still so many cards I don't know.
I have to depend on everybody else on the field to just like keep repeating what it is, because I see something hit and I'm like, I have no idea what that is, what that does, etc.
And it's just like, sure, I believe you. Okay.
I trust you. Please don't be lying to me.
Right?
They're not, I hope. I hope not. But
no.
I don't believe it. Not against these guys. They're all pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So have you thought about building your own EDH deck yet, or?
Yeah, I definitely want to. Right now, I'm in the process of trying to pack up stuff. We're looking to be moving, my significant other and I, sometime in the next year. So I don't really want to get more stuff right now. Yeah.
I know what you mean.
I live in Hawaii, but this place is expensive.
Is Hawaii in general expensive to live?
Oh, yeah. Let me ask you a question. How much do you pay for a gallon of milk?
Shit, we just bought some milk today. I want to say it's less than $3.
Okay. Ours is $6 for a gallon.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like how much is gas over there?
I haven't filled up my car's gas in like 8 months, so I have no idea.
Is your car still running?
Drive. Oh, for sure, she's still running.
Okay.
I work very, very close to where I live, so I usually just walk to work every day. If memory recalls, I think that it's about $375, $380. If you don't mind, I'm gonna cheat Google.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's not too bad. I mean, that's still pretty expensive compared to here, but I mean, I just remember back 10 years ago when gas was insanely expensive everywhere.
Yeah, that's very true. Also, I lied. It's about $370. It's $337 is the average.
That's still not bad, though. I mean,
not at all. No, better than what I thought it was.
Like I said, I just compare it back to the day when we were like here in Florida getting close to $4 a gallon, and like to me, anything below $3 or even like $3.30 doesn't seem too bad. Yeah, it's a bit expensive, but it's always worse. It could be worse.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There was a time where the gas was like at $4 a gallon over here, and that was really breaking the bank. I was like in tears. I used to work. Okay. So I live on the island of Oahu, which is where the capital of Honolulu is. For most people that live mainland, if you are driving like 20 minutes, that's probably like, I don't know, you're going 60 miles per hour, you're going 20 miles. For us, 20 minutes is 5 miles. I cannot describe why. It just
sounds like Los Angeles too.
Yeah. It's traffic. It's like the major speed limit for all the highways in town is like 45 miles per hour. So yeah, once you get out, they don't really care as much. But So yeah, I was working on the other side of the island, and gas was expensive, and I was crying every single day going to work.
Oh, so. I've been there. I've been there where it's like, you know, you're struggling from paycheck to paycheck, and you're just like, oh crap, I have like $5 to put on my gas tank. Please work until payday. So yeah,
oh.
God, I've been there.
Mm-hmm. It's not fun. But to answer your question, since we're talking about expensive stuff, yes, I want to build my own commander deck one day for sure. Right now is probably not going to be the easiest time. Only reason being is because I'm planning on moving, and I don't want to have to tote around extra stuff. And then also the Hawaii tax. So obviously, if I want to support local stuff that's out here, is just going to be more expensive by default. So
for sure. So is this sort of your first go around of playing paper Magic, this commander deck, or have you played paper Magic before?
I've played a little bit of paper Magic before. Okay. Not as obsessedly as Arena. I've played like with friends. Yeah. I made an Izzet deck a while ago. That was kind of fun, but that was back in 2019. I think it was a while ago. I haven't touched it because obviously it's difficult to do with this whole thing going on.
Oh, I know. How is the before I get into that, like how the pandemic is over there, I want to ask, I guess I just want to ask if you know what the local like LGSs are like over there, if you've been to any of them or anything like that.
Yeah. There's a few really good LGSs over here. The one that I frequent is called Other Realms. It's a comic shop. It's got board games. It's got Magic stuff. It's got D&D stuff. It's got a lot of Warhammer stuff too. If you can, like, I was surprised by how much Warhammer stuff, honestly. But
nice.
It's really good. It's locally based. They're really great about, like, if you want something, we'll order it. You just have to wait for it, essentially. So they're really good on that front. The only gripe that I have is that it's not the best for building Magic. I know that I went in there. I was like, hey, I'm looking for this specific card. And they're like, well, we sell the cards, but here's a box. Good luck. And I'm like,
oh God. Okay. Screw that.
Yeah, no. I was like, I'm good. Thanks.
Right.
No, it can't be helped. You know, when you have a store that's like as big as that, probably Magic isn't their focus. If they have Warhammer there, people are there to spend money on Warhammer. Magic cards, probably not so much. There's another place that I know of called Deplanet, and they are a better Magic store. They have everything organized, and I've actually bought from them before. But it's on the other side of the island. It's over in Aiea area, which is a 20-minute drive from where I am. And if I'm going to be driving that way, I'm going to be going for more than just cards, you know?
Yeah. Well, I guess I wanted to ask what the Magic scene is like too in Hawaii as well.
I know that it's pretty strong over here. Like, I went to university over here, so my friend that taught me Magic, he tried to get me into it by showing me the local scene, and yeah, there's a lot of players. The Magic Championship, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was over here.
Oh yeah, that was like what, a year or two ago or something like that?
Exactly. Yeah, I was there. That was
Oh,
awesome
you were?
getting to see it. Mhm.
Oh, cool. You could actually spectate?
Yeah. So
Oh.
you like the first 2 days, no, there's no spectators allowed, but for the finals, you just walk up. I got a grab bag. I got to go and watch the game.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
It was, yes, I was sitting there with a good friend of mine's, and she doesn't know anything about Magic. So I was just sitting there and then like kind of like whispering in her ear, like, okay, so this is what they have in their hand. This is what they can do. This is what that effect is, yada, yada. And she was just like, at this point in time, I'd only been playing Magic for like a year. So she's just like, you're already an expert. And I'm like, no, I just have seen this too many times on the ladder. So I know exactly how this is going to play out.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
It was really fun.
Yeah, that had to have been fun. No, that's cool to hear. So you got into streaming. What has that journey been like for you?
My streaming journey?
Yes.
Let's see. So I started streaming for the first time in 2017. It was just for fun. I had a little bit of lapse in my work schedule, so I was like, might as well give it a shot. It didn't really work out just because of how work was laying out, so I kind of put it on the back burner. In 2018, I got more time. I was affiliated in March of 2018, and then since then I've been streaming part-time pretty much. Since then I've just been building a community that's based around just having a chill atmosphere. I like creating a safe space for LGBTQ folk as well. And really just with Magic specifically, in the beginning, I really liked playing dumb stuff and making decks that were all about jank and stuff that was unexpected. I don't really do that too much now, just because I don't think there's too many like exciting cards that are in standard right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like one of my go-tos was a Dance of the Mance deck.
Oh, those were fun for a little bit.
Oh, there was one version that I had that had like Oath of Kaya in it, as well as Mirror March. So the way that Mirror March works is when that hits the field, any creatures, you flip a coin until you get a tails, and we create token copies of that. So
gross.
Yes. So you'd have these Dimir color, not Dimir. It was Esper colors, and then just Mirror March in the graveyard, and someone's looking and they're like, what is Mirror March doing in the graveyard? Dance of the Mance, you bring everything out, and because you paid the number of mana, they become creatures, and then Mirror March procs, and you just have a shit ton, pardon my French, but a shit ton of
you're fine.
Kayas. And
wow.
It just does damage to face, and that's it. That's the deck. It's awfully stupid, but it was so funny when it worked.
Oh my god, that reminds me, one of my favorite historic decks that I play is a Lich's Mastery historic deck. It's Lich's Mastery Infinite Turns.
Oh no.
It's so hard to get off. Like it requires like 4 different cards in order to get it to go, but it's so much fun if I can get it off. I just do infinite turns so I can just get enough mana to like just Banefire the opponent one shot.
Yes. I imagine you made some enemies with that deck.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's great. I'll have to send you the list. I gotta find it because I just cleared out all my decks in the game because I was starting to run out of space, and so I just do like a purge, but I keep my list though, so I can just easily import them again.
Yeah.
So that's cool. You've been doing streaming, and I think I started recognizing you this year during the pandemic. There's just been a lot of Magic content creators coming out there, and
oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, it's good for someone like me because I love interviewing content creators. Also, but it's also a sense where I'm just like, I don't know who the heck anybody is half the time, and there's just so many out there. But It's great seeing a lot more women streaming, because when I first started the podcast back in 2016, and I used to write and I used to write Magic articles too before then. I can only recall like as far as streamers go, like before Arena, it was just Magic Online. I can only recall like one, maybe two women streamers at the time. Mrs. Mulligan was one of them. I don't know if you ever heard of her.
I haven't actually, no.
And I want to say Gabby Sparts.
Oh, I know Gabby.
Yeah, I want to say she streamed back then. I can't remember. She may not have, but she may have started shortly after that. But those were like the only two I ever knew about. And like since Arena, it's just been explosion of all kinds of people, and it's great. It's getting more eyes on the game, and it's. I don't know. That's always been one of my biggest things with Magic is I want more people to play, and I feel like this is the way to do it. Even though I still got my own gripes about Arena, it can't replace paper for me, because I find myself getting a lot more frustrated with Magic playing Arena than I do on paper.
I hear you. Yeah, I think that one of the biggest flaws that Arena has is just that you lose the personalization that comes with paper Magic. You don't have an opponent on the other side of the field anymore. You're just playing against a screen. So it feels a lot less personal. That's why I like playing viewer games, like having a queue set up and having people come in.
Yeah.
And even like setting up voice chat sometimes so that we can just talk about what's going on. I'm like, heck yes.
And
I'm
talk
down
trash
for
and all that. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I have a mod that talks trash to me all the time, and it gets me so pumped, so that when I do win against him, it feels amazing. I love that.
Do you know Unicorn Fluff?
Yes, I do.
She
really sweet streamer.
I love her. We just had her on the stream playing some EDH. It was me, Pixie Kitten, Efren of Cardsphere, and Unicorn. All four of us just playing EDH, and the entire game was just all of us talking trash to each other. And it was the best. I had not had so much fun playing a game of Magic. I didn't win it all, but I didn't give a shit. I just...
I think that, that's the one thing that I like about the Commander Sphere is even if you don't win, like, as long as you get to dick around and just have fun, like, you've already won.
Yeah, if you get to do one cool thing in the game, then you've kind of won, in a sense, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, you mutate a giant creature or something like that, and boom, something like that. One of my newest EDH decks is Ashaya from Zendikar Rising, and literally the entire deck has 0 creatures except Ashaya, and has like 45 lands, but I've got all these ways of ramping and animating all my lands. So I call it sort of like the Attack of the Ents from Lord of the Rings.
Beautiful.
So I see that I see a Zelda poster behind you.
Oh, I have
and
a
I
lot.
love it.
Thank you. I wish I could show you my entire room, but so my significant other and I, we're both obsessed with like just art in general.
Nice.
He's a bigger nerd than I am. He's played a lot more game franchises than I have, but our entire room is just covered in posters that we've gotten from local conventions. Yeah, I love it. I love supporting artists. I love art in general. I'm not an excellent artist myself, but I live vicariously through other people's excellent art.
Well, I've seen some of like your makeup stuff that you've posted before, and I mean, like that's pretty hard to do. Oh, well, coming from a guy who has no idea anything about makeup, it's like it's hard to do.
It is hard to do, and you know what? Anything that I do now, I probably couldn't have even done like 3 years ago. It's all practice and trial and error.
Yeah, I mean that's what drawing is. Like that's what art is.
Yeah. Exactly. You got to keep trying. I don't have time to like actually physically draw on the tablet, but I do art wherever I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. You brought up makeup. Yeah, I do something fun called Makeup the Gathering, which is a dorky name, but I own it. But essentially every Friday. It is fun. I do makeup tutorials because I have a lot of I've mentioned that I have a lot of folks that are LGBTQ. That includes a lot of trans women who come through, and they're like a lot of folks are just not really confident in their makeup ability, or they're not really sure where to start. They've never done it and they want to do something. This is an opportunity for me to like, okay, here's my process. This is what I'm using. This is a product I recommend. And then boom, I have makeup. And usually the makeup is inspired by a Magic the Gathering card. And I find that very fun.
No, and it's a cool little niche too, because I've got 2 daughters and they love a lot of the makeup YouTubers, and you know, I mean, I hate doing the typical guy thing, but I don't get it because I don't wear makeup or anything like that. And but for like Magic the Gathering, heck, even a D&D type makeup niche, it's pretty cool though. Like I've seen some of your, was it Selesnya or is it stuff you've done? It's pretty cool. And
thank you.
I was in, there was that whole what was it on Twitter? I think it was this past week, the whole e-girl thing going on.
Yes. I saw it. I haven't had a chance to play around with it, but it was started off by Inkling Customs.
Oh, was it?
Was
Inkling?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So she's I believe she's a proxy artist, but she's just in general an absolute pleasure.
Oh,
very
yeah,
positive energy.
I love her. I've had her on the podcast, and I've
played everybody on the podcast.
I try, like, and I've had her on the stream too. EDH. I got to get you on the stream too. Play some EDH with us. It'd be hilarious.
Please bring me on sometime.
I would love to
play more EDH. Okay.
Yes, but, I can't schedule anything right now, because I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, but I had a house flood last week, and we're going through all the homeowners insurance BS, and we're it's up in the air right now whether or not we have to leave the house for a week or two while they have to demo stuff. And I'm just like, I want to schedule, like, I can't schedule any streams right now and more podcast interviews. It's like, I've got you today, and then I've got one more tomorrow, and I'm like, that's it. I can't schedule anymore. And it sucks.
Gotcha. Wow.
So yeah, as soon as I can...
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a pain. But as soon as I can schedule some streams again, I'm going to definitely ask you 100%.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
You have my number, so you can just go ahead and pester me.
Be like, come on, play some EDH, and I'll play something dumb. Well, no, my newest deck that I want to do is sort of based off of a D&D character. Do you know the Commander Legends? It's the Red Commander Rogak, the 0-cost Kobold.
Yes, I know this one.
Yeah,
the one that has no he has haste and trample and something else, but
he's a 0/1.
He's a 0/1.
Yeah,
but you can attach equipment to him, right, and make him really beefy.
Yes. So my plan is to have Rogak, and then the cat partner Falthus, the one who gives all your commanders Death Touch and Menace. Oh, so it's going to be... So my whole D&D plan for it is... Rogak is the main character, and Falthus is his pet cat. And he's, going to get equipment that he's going to acquire through his journey. And then he's also going to be able to transform. So I have a small mutate sub-theme with it, too. So he can transform into something bigger.
I love this.
It's probably going to be super bad, but I don't care.
It doesn't have to be good. This is one thing about Commander that I've been learning that I love, is that you can do something where you're just making the deck or whatever, or you can have a deck that tells a story.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I've been, like, since starting Commander, I've been looking more into it. I started watching what's it called? Game Nights?
Yeah. Jimmy and Josh.
With Jimmy and Josh, and watching those two and seeing how the people that are coming on, they're building decks around stories as well. The one that I watched first was their Christmas episode where the decks were talking about just different Christmas carols, and I was like, okay, yes, that's awesome. Hilarious.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, because I feel like a lot of people go through like stages of building Commander decks. Like, I went through a period because my local meta was very competitive in Commander, so pretty much every single deck I built had to be like the best of the best, because there's no other way I could compete with my friends and all that. But since the pandemic started and I started streaming Commander, now it's to the point where I'm bored of making every single deck the best, because that's so easy to do. Now it's finding fun themes, like my Ashaya deck where, okay, it's going to be Attack of the Ents, right? Mm-hmm. I don't care about, I know I can put in creatures that make Ashaya even more disgusting, but let's have fun with it.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, and what you do is you just think of fun ideas like that. Like, what gets me inspired is just looking at the commander and their abilities and trying to think of not the best way to go about it, if that makes sense. Because, like I said, it's so easy just to make the best of the best, and it's not bad to have decks like that,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But
you want to have something that's fun first. Like, having this in there would be probably a little bit of a faster way to get from point A to point B, but this one would be funnier. So
yeah, for sure. So you play some D&D. Mm-hmm. Have you looked at or tried Pathfinder at all?
No.
Okay.
What is Pathfinder? I don't think so.
So have you ever heard of Pathfinder or no?
I've heard the word being bounced around, so I'm just like, that sounds familiar, but I don't want to pretend that I know what it is.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. So Pathfinder, back when D&D came out with 4th edition, a lot of people did not like 4th edition D&D because they radically changed the way the game was played. So there was a company that sort of took D&D 3.5 and sort of made a bunch of changes to it, and that became Pathfinder 1st edition. So Pathfinder 2nd edition just came out. It's very, very different from 1st edition, and I just asked because my group and I managed to play it for the first time last night, and it was so much fun. Like, I still love 5th edition D&D, but it was just a nice change of pace, like, of how different it was. It's a way to describe it is like building a character is so customizable that it's insane how much customization there is just for a level 1 character.
That's cool. I love customization. I love just going outside the box and going ham wild with all the stuff that you can do with your characters.
Oh yeah, it's one thing that I kind of like better compared to 5th edition, because when you look at 5th edition on the surface, like a level 1 fighter, it's for the most part, every single level 1 fighter you make besides the race is going to be exactly the same. Mm-hmm. In Pathfinder, a level 1 fighter is going to be vastly different. Every single one can be vastly different at level 1. And that's what I like about it. I would not recommend it to new players at all because holy crap, there's so many rules for it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, rules are scary to me, but I'm going to look. I didn't even know there was a Pathfinder, a 2nd edition. I think that the previous campaign that I had was a Pathfinder campaign, but I'm really not confident.
Yeah, it was Pathfinder 1 1st edition is like, if you look at the core rule book, it looks exactly like D&D 3.5, the rule book for it. They look exactly the same. I mean, there's differences and all that, but no. So you said you've been playing 5th edition since 2015, you said, or?
So the campaign I'm in now, that's been going on since last year, 2020. This one is 5th edition.
Okay.
Before that, we were the 4th edition, I believe.
Oh, 4th edition. Okay.
Either 4th or 4E was what he called it.
Yeah, that'd be considered 4th edition.
Okay. That would make sense then. Then no, I've not played Pathfinder.
Okay. So 4th edition, I personally found it fun. It was just such a rapid departure from, because I've only ever played D&D 2nd edition, then I went straight to 4th. And it was just such a rapid departure. But I had fun. It felt like, I mean, it could be grindy with the combat, but I liked a lot of the customization with the characters too, like the different at-will powers you got, encounter powers and all that.
For sure, yeah.
So have you only been playing 5th edition since last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Only since last year. We're in an Eberron campaign, so because it's a little bit of a steampunky newer stuff, we're just like, okay, well, we're probably going to have to go with the most current rules, which I'm fine with.
I want to play an artificer so bad. They look so much fun.
It is so cool. One of my friends that I'm playing with is an artificer, and she does a lot of really dumb stuff, and it's fantastic. She's we found a cat, and she's obsessed with this cat, and the cat had like a stub leg, and she gave the cat a gun arm. So
that sounds amazing.
It's pretty good.
That sounds amazing. Like I have a character idea for an artificer where it's an orc artificer. He's a blacksmith, and literally every single ability he picks has to be related to blacksmithing. Like he can't choose any magic or anything that'd be outside of blacksmithing.
That's so cool. I would love to see that.
Yeah, so I have a. It's just I DM way more than I play, so it's I don't get to play as much, but when I do, I try to make like just off the wall fun characters that are just you don't normally see.
I hear that. My significant other, he is the one who's DM'd like every campaign that I've ever been in, and he's kind of the same, just for fun. Like he'll talk about, oh yeah, this is a D&D character that I'm gonna build. Talking about making a what was it? I think he wanted to make an orc like an orc fighter that was like half like he leveled up some aspects of sorcery, but he just didn't put any points into it, and this orc really wanted to be a sorcerer, but he just isn't any good at it. And then after dealing no damage for the first like couple of turns, he'd just get pissed and like pull out his axe and then start swinging. That's one character that he's coming up with, and he does a lot of like stuff like that, and I want to like start DMing one day so that he can eventually play, but we'll see.
Do it. What's stopping you from wanting to do it? I mean, besides time. I mean, I know time's the biggest thing.
That's really it. We're coming across the end of this campaign right now. We're getting very close to it. So I've already offered for the next campaign that I DM it, and he said, sure, that's fine.
It's so much fun. I love DMing.
I am very excited about it. I'm excited to. I grew up acting a lot when I was young, so I know a lot about improvisation. So I feel like, you know, asshole groups that just want to do stuff that's outside of what I'm looking at, I'm like, okay, I can play with this. The hardest part is probably just going to be tracking all the stats and stuff. But
that can get tricky. Yeah, because especially like if you're in a big fight and you've got like 10 enemies that you got to keep track of. It doesn't get easy on I like it on Roll20 if you play it online. Because I don't know if you've seen Roll20 from the DM perspective. But you can, for each token that you have, you can set their hit points on each token, so you can keep track of all that. That makes it easier compared to when you're playing pen and paper and you gotta, you have like 10 minis and you're like, oh crap, which one's which?
Yes, so we use Roll20, and I've seen that before, and it's absolutely useful.
Oh yeah.
I guess like one of the things that I'm scared about is balancing. There
That's
was one
tough.
campaign that we did with a friend, and he was the DM, and it did not last very long. He was not very good at balancing the NPCs that we were going against. So I think the group was complaining because we were level 1 going against a bunch of kobolds, and they just weren't like, at any time one would die, there were just like 3 more that you had to worry about. So it's just like, this doesn't seem balanced. And he's like, you're right. Let me stop doing this campaign.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to balance. It's tough to learn that the thing that makes it easier as you go on is, as a DM, when you start understanding what your players are capable of, like what skills they have and what they do, it gets a little bit easier to balance. But especially at like level 1, level 2, like every single encounter can be so dangerous, where it's like 2 goblins can take out an entire party of level 1 characters, and it's like, well, I mean, it sometimes it can just be bad luck of the dice. It's funny. I remember I did this one shot with I think it was 3 players, and they were going up against 2 guards, and one guard, I literally kept rolling nat 20s on every single attack, and it almost killed him. And they were like level 3 or level 4 at the time, and it was like, a crappy little guard, but I just kept getting crits left and right, and it almost took him out. Like, there's stuff like that as a DM where that'll happen some nights. You're just like, you just got 3 nat 20s in a row as a DM. You're like, oh shit. Okay.
I have a question for you as a
Sure.
DM. Do you usually use like a crit table. So after a person rolls a crit success or crit failure, do they have to roll like a percentile dice? Or
no. So what I like doing is I don't do much for when they get a nat 20 on an attack, besides, they double the damage and all that.
okay.
For a nat 1 on an attack, it depends. Sometimes so I used to have a player who would have like a deck of cards that you'd be able to use, like pull out a random card and to give you a list of stuff what happens when they fail. And so I used to do that, and that was so much fun. I can't remember what they were called, but sometimes I'll just, depending on what they were doing, like they're swinging their sword, they get a nat 1, and be like, okay, roll d20 again. And if they rolled like really low, then it's like, okay, you threw your sword as you were, and now your sword's like 50 feet that way.
Right. Yeah. No, we use like a crit table. So anytime you roll like a natural 1, you roll the percentile dice, and then depending on what you land on, it does different things. Like if you roll low, it's just like not as bad. If you roll really high, it's something that could potentially harm you. Like
that's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It adds a little bit of uncertainty to the game. But then when you get the nat 20s too, like it can do some extra stuff. Like there's like an instant execution option, like in 1 percentile. So that's really cool.
That's awesome. That sounds fun. Yeah, my main D&D group right now, they're all like level 14 to 16 right now. And it's been a campaign that's been going on for over 2 years now, and and we're getting near the end of the game, and the encounters I have to throw at them just to even make it even somewhat tough. It's like I had to have them. They just, was it 2 weeks ago? They fought a Baelor. You know what a Baelor is?
Which one is the Baelor?
Baelor's like the Balrog from Lord of the Rings.
Got you.
Like big fire demon. So I had them fight a Baelor and like 2 powerful wizards, and that was enough to almost kill them. But then again, it didn't kill them because still so much damage. But hey, it was fun though.
Nice. Do you go about trying to kill your team when you play D&D, or are you more about like here's a little bit of a challenge, but you're still holding their hand?
It depends. It really depends on what they're going up against. Like and it's funny you mention that, because I'm actually working on a script right now because I also do a side podcast called RPG Companion, where I'll either interview D&D people or talk about D&D topics. And I'm actually working on an episode titled "What Should You TPK Your Players?" And it's a good question, because as a DM, do you want to kill all your players? Like, I've had plenty of solo character deaths, like where you just kill one player. And yeah, it sucks. It's sad. I don't enjoy doing that. But, that one player can just roll up another character, but killing the entire party? Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah.
I honestly don't want it to happen, but I won't be afraid of doing it, though. Like, I'm not going to purposely, throw like, hey, fight, 5 red dragons here,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I didn't take you for being the jerk DM, not at all.
No, but it's definitely something hard. Like, I mean, I've fudged rolls in the past, because it's like when I told you about that guard that got 3 nat 20s, it's like sometimes I'll just be like, fuck, I'm rolling too many nat 20s tonight. They miss. You're just like, because it's as a DM, you want to sort of balance, them having fun,
right.
And it's also, is it fun if everybody dies, and especially like, how far are you in the campaign? Like my players that are, going on 2 years, and some of them have their original characters for 2 years, like, how would you feel if your character of over 2 years died, and the whole party died with you?
That'd be heartbreaking for sure.
It would be. And like, I would feel as a player, would be like, well, fuck this. I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to play that campaign.
For sure. Yeah. No, I feel you.
I feel like a TPK in an early session like between levels maybe 1 to 3 is not nearly as feel bad as compared to 2 years into a game and you're just like, oh fuck.
Right. I feel like getting that out of your system like early on too, if you get your player killed like early on, then you're kind of forcing the player to like respect the system that is there, and they're like, okay, so I did a dumb by rushing in without thinking. Now with my next character, I'm gonna do better. You don't really learn that from the new campaign, or if your character dies like later on. If they're dead later on, they're just like, okay, well this was bullshit. What's the point? Yeah. No, I hear you there.
No, and it's something that part of that episode I'm going to talk about is bringing up that topic during session 0 too, because I feel like it's a valid concern where, you know, should everyone die, like, how are you all going to feel? Like, what do you want to do? Like, either do you want to quit the campaign at that point, or do you want to just roll up new characters? I just feel like it's something important to talk about because it's not fun. It's not a fun thing when it happens.
For sure. Yeah. I get emotionally attached to my characters as well. So I've been very fortunate when I'm playing. I have the only time where I've lost one of my characters where they've died is like in one-shot campaigns.
Yeah.
But with my major campaigns, the characters that I have not died. But when they have gotten close to death, I have just been like, I wouldn't say like emotionally compromised, but I was very much on the edge of my seat. Like, oh God, I really hope they make it, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel
no, it's tough. And like I said, even a single character death is not fun either. Like a permanent death. I don't mean when they go down and they're doing death saves. I do that maybe at least now that they're near the end of this campaign. There's going to be at least 1 to 2 of them that go down dying, but not dead.
Right.
But you know, that reminds me of a funny character death story. So.
Yes, tell me.
It was a rather new campaign, and so they were all like levels 2 to 3 or something. They're in this city, and I sort of made up this campaign where it's sort of like a Grand Theft Auto and The Godfather type campaign. They're in this city, and they had to join this, you know, criminal faction, and so they had to go steal. The first session was kind of like was it National Treasure? They had to go steal the city's constitution. And so they managed to steal the city's constitution, and as they're running away, guards are chasing them. They managed to escape the guards and go to this well-known tavern. You know, pretty well-known tavern, and everyone but the dwarf decided to go upstairs into the tavern to like go to their rooms. And so when the guards came, they recognized the dwarf and took him away and, you know, held him prisoner and all that. So then the next session after that was trying to break the dwarf out of prison. And I mean, the characters, the dwarf didn't really do much. So there was like, I want to say 5 or 6 of them all together. And so they spent about 2 to 3 sessions going into the sewers, you know, breaking into the prison where the dwarf was, rescuing him, running away from guards. And so as they're in the sewers, the guards like release the water somehow, and then the sewer starts flooding. And at the same time, the sewer was infested with kobolds. So those kobolds that were dead on their way back started to rise up as zombies. So they're all like trying to run away and have guards and water and dead kobold zombies chasing them. All of them got away, but at the same time, people were getting hit and attacked, and one of the people getting attacked was the dwarf they're trying to rescue. He starts doing death saving throws, and like some of the members of the party just run up away, don't even help everyone come, you know, doesn't wait to help everybody. Everyone finally gets out of the sewers, and they were about to heal the dwarf, but I'm like, no, it's the dwarf's turn, because it was initiative order. I'm like, the dwarf has to roll a death saving throw. He had 1 fail and like 2 successes, and he rolls a nat 1. And I'm all like, you're dead.
It counts as 2 fails.
Yeah, it counts as... So they spent all that time.
They went all that way to save the dwarf.
Yes. They spent like 3 sessions trying to save him, and he dies at the very end.
Oh my God.
They were so
terrible. adorable.
They were so pissed. I'm dying laughing. Like I didn't want the dwarf to die, but I'm sorry. That was just too funny. And the guy who rolled the nat 1, he's laughing his ass off too.
He was done with that character at that point. He's like, fuck it. I'm ready to make
fuck this shit. I mean, he made another dwarf rogue anyway, but
dwarf rogue? That's awesome.
So
got the extra stealth, the fact that they're so short, they can hide a lot easier. Good stuff. I love that.
What was funny was the party was so pissed that instead of giving him a proper burial, they just threw him back into the sewer. They're like, we're done.
Not even a flaming boat or anything.
No.
Toss-
Let the kobold zombies get them.
All right, at least the kobold zombies, they're gonna eat healthy that evening.
Oh my god, it was so funny. It was I really enjoyed doing that little like mini campaign because it was not very combat heavy or anything, because there was a few characters that wanted to fight everything, but then like the sort of main leaders of it wanted to, since they're part of like the quote unquote mafia here, they're like, let's do some talking, let's do some intimidation and all that. And my god, it was so much fun just having to role play like, dumb guards and all that stuff, and they have to trick them to like break into a warehouse or something. And man, I had so much fun doing that.
Oh man. Can I tell a story from my
Sure.
campaign?
Sure.
I feel like you might get a kick out of this. So in this campaign that I'm playing right now, it's a group of 5 others. The character that I'm playing, she is an arcane trickster, which is a rogue subclass.
Nice.
Yes. So she's not very combat heavy, but she's got a lot of specialties. She pretends to be this dainty lady, but she's actually a con artist. So she's got very high deception. Her highest stat is her sleight of hand, though. Like she gets a plus 13. So she's very good at pocket.
Yeah.
Yes. So this story, one of our team members was caught in a trap. It's kind of like a quicksand door. He was slowly getting pulled in, and we were like, oh god, this guy, we don't know what's going to happen. We got to pull him out. Now, my character made a pact with the devil, and she has future sight. So she's just like, oh,
damn.
devil, what's going to happen in the next, like, what's going to happen to this guy? And she sees a future where he gets sucked in, and the clues were kind of saying, like, hey, his image is suddenly going to appear on the wall as if, like he was added to this wall by magic, stuck there. And I'm like, okay, so he's dead. So my entire team is trying to pull this guy out of the quicksand door. And she's already said in her mind, she's like, all right, this guy's dead anyway. So she feels symbolic.
Oh my god, that's great.
Yeah, no. Obviously the entire team was like, Mari, you gotta help. And I'm like, he's dead anyway. It's fine. It was early on with the packs. I didn't realize that it was a future that could be, not one.
Oh,
so
that's
when
great.
he was pulled out of the door, I was like, hey, glad you survived. Just slip that right back in there before you notice.
Oh my gosh.
Like the actual player that was playing this warlock, he was pissed and he started attacking her. And I'm like, your character doesn't know what happened. I rolled a high on my sleight of hand. So
Frickin' rogues, man. All they want to do is just steal.
That's it. That's it.
Oh my gosh. My 2-year campaign has had such a bad luck run of rogues. Like, because we first started the campaign at an LGS, so I had to like pretty much almost let anybody play. I didn't really get a choice of who got to play and all that stuff. And so our first rogue that we ever had, they get into this big city. I'm sorry, like he was a nice guy, but he was like the dumbest player. And
It happens.
It was bad. Tell
me how bad.
He would walk into a shop because he was obsessed with getting, Cloak of Elvenkind and Boots of Elvenkind. He was obsessed with getting them. So he goes into a shop wanting to buy them, and I tell him the price of what it is. He only had like 10 gold. I'm like, there's no way you're gonna get them. So then he says out loud, he's like, okay, well then I'll just come back and steal them. And I'm like, oh my god, why would you say that?
Why would you say that?
Why would you say that? So he ended up getting guards tailing him and capturing him for like conspiracy of thievery or whatever the heck I said. And so the rest of the party was so pissed at him when they paid his bail and brought him back to the tavern. They tied up his hands and legs and said, like, you're not allowed to like walk or talk or anything. Because that wasn't the first time he did that. Like, he would try that to like everybody, just steal from every single shopkeep. Like, oh my, stop.
Wow.
No matter how many times I'd like kill his character. I mean, of course, one of the other players would heal him and all that stuff. I'm like,
Right.
oh man, yeah.
In his defense, it feels fun getting away with it. Like, when you're a rogue, you get to add your proficiency bonus to a lot of your stats, and those stats that have the proficiency bonus get doubled.
Oh yeah.
So getting a plus, like right now with my dexterity, it's really high. Plus, I think that let me pull up my character sheet real quick. Hold on. Because I just have it right here. I play D&D from right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, level 11 rogue gets plus four proficiency. So a plus 14 to sleight of hand is pretty good. And it's nice just being able to just go in and be like, all right, I'm gonna steal it, and then you do, and that's it.
Oh yeah, when you're that level, yeah. It's like at the time this rogue was like level 3 or something. I'm like no, stop. It's like you have to like knock him down a peg. Like, no, you're only level 3. Stop it.
Well, it's a good way to learn, and you know what?
I
think that by being part of that campaign, I'm sure that they figured out for the next time. You know, there's got to be a smoother way to approach it.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. we gotta give them benefit.
Hopefully.
I would hope so. Like, that's one thing that I love about playing in these spaces, especially with experienced people, is you fuck up and then you realize that you did, and you're like, all right, so this is what I'm gonna do next time. You know, not to circle it back to magic, but you know, magic is the exact same way too.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh no, I'm
can't figure out the line.
100% in agreement with that. It's what really showed me. And, you know, playing in public spaces like D&D and Magic, you know, you come across your fair share of toxic people.
Oh, yeah.
And here, in playing competitive Magic, I've ran into my high number of fair share of toxic Magic people, especially here in Florida. And so when I took off from that and started focusing on D&D, playing public D&D, I was thinking, oh, it can't be too bad, you know. How bad is the average toxic, you know, D&D player compared to Magic toxicity? It's just as bad. Holy crap. I've ran into some toxic D&D players playing in public spaces, and it would always surprise me because this is a game of cooperativeness, right? You know, the DM presents a challenge, the players need to come together and solve it. And so I would always be baffled by people that were just assholes, people that would literally try to cheat. And it's just like, out of all the games to cheat in, why D&D? Well, like,
you're not winning anything. You're just having fun.
And it's, I mean, I know what people of color and women and LGBTQ experience in terms of harassment is nothing like, you know, what I would go through or anything, but just the fuck, man, just some of the people like I've come across, I'm just like, you just have to really shake your head and just like, why are you the way that you are?
I absolutely hear you. I think that one of the nice things about being exposed to Magic from the arena standpoint is that it was a completely digital experience for me. So it was a much easier experience in terms of targeted harassment. If there were people that were being jerks, I could immediately just like, okay, well, I'm unfriending you on arena. I'm blocking you from the stream, whatever. In real life, you don't really get to do that. You don't get to be like, all right, you suck, I'm blocking you. And then they're just still standing there like,
oh man,
you know.
yeah, it's, I've got so many bad stories of just bad experiences at FNMs and GPs and all that. Just, you know, and I know my experience can't compare to like some other people, but just, and it's, I can only freaking imagine. And, you know, you hear the horror stories of what people have gone through, and it's just, I don't know. It really, really got me not wanting to play like competitive Magic anymore because it was just, I don't want to deal with that stupidity. Like, I don't need that stress on me anymore.
I hear you. Yeah. And yeah, I think that things are getting better. As with a lot of things in life, people are becoming more aware with what's going on in the world. And they're like, well, that's not something I stand for. So I'm going to go ahead and make it clear that it's not okay. And it's getting better. And it's encouraging more people to get into the game and enjoy it. But yeah, I don't... as long as we have people that exist now as they always have, it's going to take a long time before it is completely eradicated, this negative behavior towards anybody, this poor ethic towards Magic that definitely can't exist. I don't feel like I personally have a lot of horror stories to tell, but you're doing your part by admonishing it as it comes. You see it and you're like, that's not acceptable. And whether or not you outright tell them, at least it cements your belief that that's not what should be considered acceptable. And as soon as one person says it, another person does, and then it just keeps going, and then finally we fucking figure it out. We'll see. Yeah,
and that's one of the things that I find so important, especially when like a local gaming store needs to be inclusive, needs to be welcoming, because I've taken my kids to some of these gaming stores, and as a father of 2 daughters, I don't want them to come in and then they see anime titty playmats everywhere, and you're just like, oh my fucking god, really? Just seriously, like, I don't care that people have them. Don't fucking bring them out to public spaces like where kids are gonna be there.
Hey, that's culture, okay? These kids are getting exposed to Japanese culture early on.
Not some of the ones I've seen.
No, I agree with you 100%. My playmat it's freaking a cool scene from Gurren Lagann, which is a good anime. But yeah, no, I don't understand the rest. Especially if you're in a public setting, like, show a little decency. There might be children close by. Come on.
Like I said, if you want to do that in your own home, like privately, okay, whatever. Whatever, fine. It's just the people there's so many people that just like decorum, manners, just decency overall. Right. And I've come across it so much here in Florida that when the pandemics start, the Florida already acts like the pandemic's over, so there's already game stores that are playing Magic and all that stuff. I'm like, nope. But
they got to keep afloat somehow. But yeah,
I know
it's the way.
But it's like, oh god, just so many people suck, but there's good people out there.
Yeah. No. So one thing about that I'd love to touch base on is in terms of the culture around Magic. I've only experienced Magic culture here in Hawaii, and if you know anything about it, Hawaii is pretty diverse. There's a lot of like local Hawaiian descendants. There's a lot of folks who are of Asian descent. There's a lot of white folks as well. But for the most part, it's a nice hot pot. But one thing that is just not common, there's not a lot of Black culture out here, like almost none. Like I can count on my hand the number of like absolutely zero like people that I've played Magic with out here have been Black. But
why do you think that is? Is it just...
Well, Hawaii, for starters, is fucking expensive to move here.
Okay. Well, yeah.
There are BIPOC friends that I've had out here, but for the most part, the majority of the culture is of Asian descent. So there's a lot of...
Because it's a lot closer to like Japan and Philippines and all that.
Exactly. A lot of Filipinos. There's a lot of Pacific Islanders. There's a lot of Japanese Americans, Korean Americans, Chinese Americans as well. But yeah, no. So like we don't really, we're better than most of the mainland about diversity, but there's still like the stigma that exists. It's not as bad, but it's still here. Especially against women players out here. I've not met any like women Magic players out here.
Oh, interesting. Now, it's funny you mentioned the stigma because, like I said, I can definitely sense that around some shops here in Florida. Like there are some, if I have to say, there's probably 2 game stores here that I've been in Florida that I feel have been probably the most welcoming, that are still open, I should say. Because my favorite game store closed years ago, and they were like the absolute best of the best in terms of welcoming environment. So it'd be Cool Stuff Games. They're probably some of the most welcoming people ever. And what I love about them is if you are a piece of shit or whatever, they will kick your ass out. They will not hesitate to kick you out.
Yeah.
Because I've been to some game stores where they're so timid about kicking customers out and all that are just shitheads. Like, no, yeah. I don't care. Get rid of them. And Next Ridge Games is another one that down here in Tampa that they are not afraid to get rid of people, not put up with people's bullshit, which I love. But what I found interesting with some of the places I've traveled here in the States, in terms of like welcoming environments, I went up to Atlanta, Georgia, I want to say, what was it, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, and I visited a few LGSs up there, and holy crap, and the sort of the thing here is, the further north you go in Florida, the more southern it gets, and and here I am thinking, okay, it's Georgia, right? It's probably going to be some, podunk, LGSs and southern and all that stuff, so when I go up there, it was just holy shit, like some of the most welcoming LGSs I've ever been to, so diverse and all that shit, like damn. Probably one of the nicest places I've been to too. I think it was LGS I went to, one of them was called Gigabytes Cafe, really good one. But
nice.
Oh shoot, where was I going to go with this?
You're talking about good environments and city.
Yeah. You don't see that too much here in Florida.
Oh. Like I said, I haven't had a lot of experience with LGS gameplay, so I haven't personally seen too much, but I know what I see, and what I see is the people that are open about coming out to play, and it very rarely is anybody aside from, lots of military boys, like lots of white military boys, lots of like local guys. Never have I seen any woman in these LGS buying Magic cards. I've seen them there, but they're not really like they're not there for Magic.
Yeah, I mean the 2 stores I mentioned, Next Ridge and Cool Stuff, I see a lot of women. Well, when they were open, I did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean they're still open, but I mean when they were like doing events and all that.
Right.
But I mean that is one thing that I have noticed the past couple years when I went to Magic Fest, is seeing a lot more women players compared to 5 years ago or 6-7 years ago. So it is there. Sad that you don't see it too much in Hawaii. Just I don't know. It's weird how demographics like that shape out. Where there's like it's weird to me because I've been in some places in the US where like I go to an LGS and I see a lot of women, a lot of diversity there. Then you go to like another LGS and it's a diverse area, but you only see, basically just white boys there. And it's just, and of course you don't always know the story behind it. Like, is this just a shitty shop, or is this just happen to be like this, It just happens
to be like this. I think more often than not, it's just something that's just going to continue to be like this. I hope that by streaming Magic, I can encourage more, at least local women to stream more Magic. I have been I'm in the community Discord for other Hawaii streamers. I'm a manager over there.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been a community manager since 2018, actually just after I started streaming the second time. So I love it. I built it from the ground up. I say that like I was the only person. It was a whole team, but we all worked together. I feel like the work that I put in is something that I'm personally proud of. I've helped to make it a server where everybody can just kind of hang out and talk story. It's really nice. But yeah, I keep kind of trying to throw out feelers like, hey, is there anybody here that doesn't stream Magic that wants to start? Let's do a co-stream together. Like,
yeah.
Hey, are there any women who are interested in learning? I'll teach you how. I'll dedicate an entire stream to you. because a lot of people that are there are just starting out with stream. They don't have as large a community as I do, and I'm 100% happy with getting these people like connected with others, especially like treating them as like my protege. But so far, nobody is interested. Nobody's talked to me about it. I've connected with one other streamer that's locally based. I don't know if you know Scotty Nada, but he streams Magic and he's a really good draft player. But he's down the street from where I live. Joking. He lives here on the same island as me.
Yeah.
So yeah, another local streamer. But I'm gonna keep trying to put it out there. I'm gonna keep trying to get more people interested in it, and when we're able to do
awesome.
that,
That's great.
I want to make it as diverse a game as possible. I want to bring more people in. I want to get more people interested in Magic. I think that there's a flair to Hawaii streaming that's like the spirit of aloha that you bring, this community. I don't know if you've watched literally any other Hawaiian streamer, but
You're actually the only one I really know of, to be honest.
That's okay. There's a few that are partnered. There's a few that are affiliated. But they have this spirit that's about them that just you go in and you're just like, okay, this feels like home. And I want that to be like the universal Magic experience as well. So I'm going to keep plugging it. I'm going to keep trying to find more local streamers that can get into it, because this is something that I care about more so than the game.
Yeah.
I care about the gathering more than the Magic, you know?
Oh, 100%. I totally agree with that. And I love that. I love that you're, outreaching to people like that, trying to get it set up, because it's important, you could one day inspire a little girl to, not just stream Magic, but, it could be anything, like maybe get her into Magic, get her into something, or just seeing like, hey, someone can do this. Like with Kamala Harris being the vice president and all that, like,
yes.
Regardless of
that, but I'm thrilled.
oh no, like regardless of how you feel about her or her policies and what she's done, it's the symbolic nature that, holy shit, my girls are alive to be able to see the first woman vice president. She's a person of color, and and to me that means a lot, because it's now it's just a matter of time when we're going to see the first woman president. And it's an exciting time, for it.
It is. We're moving forward, and even from 5 years ago, things are drastically different, and they're going to continue to get better so long as we are aware of the changes that are happening and we're embracing them and encouraging them.
Yeah. And this has been quite a month.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes, we're only 1 month into 2021, and it's already been an interesting one.
It's been quite a month. So by the time this episode comes out, it'll be, I think, the first week of February when this comes out. So
hopefully nothing crazier happens.
Oh my gosh! Week. I'll be honest. I was like so worried about the inauguration day. Like, please just let it be boring. Please, dear God, just let it be boring. And it was. Yeah. It was boring.
So boring. We're 5 hours behind you guys, yeah?
Yeah.
So I was 100% expecting to wake up and hear that the Capitol's been overthrown. So I was pleasantly surprised when I woke up at 6 o'clock the next morning, and I'm like, oh, nothing happened? Cool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
On with my day.
Yeah, it was I watched the whole thing live, and I was pretty worried. I was pretty nervous, like shit, is something gonna happen? Like, no, okay, nothing happened. And like I'll be honest, Joe Biden was not my first pick, in terms of the Democratic side. But it's like I
fucking like dumpster fire over the other option. Like
Trump, yeah, 100%. So
one thing that I can say is that out here, we don't like him. Like as a collective, like 60% of
like Biden or
no, Trump.
Oh, okay.
I mean, wow, a island that's like more than 60% POC aren't interested in a guy who is all about yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I wish I could say the same about Florida. Oh my god, I live in such a Trump-heavy county. Even now, after his little casual insurrection that he tried to do, just a little bit of light treason,
A little light treason, no big deal. I go about it like, once in a blue moon.
It's still have. So my parents have basically brainwashed by Trump and all that stuff, and they still think like he did nothing wrong after January 6th. I'm like, if you could. Oh, okay. So I like to pose this question to some people. Let's subtract 2020 out of this and the January 6th attack.
Yeah. Let's just think about everything before that.
I'm not saying Trump was perfect or like a lot of his policies were shit and all that stuff, but it wasn't the worst presidency we had in terms of we didn't get into any new wars or anything like that.
We were very close at one point.
I know. With Iran, right?
Yeah, where we just accidentally dropped something on them.
Just a little casual bombing.
A little casual bombing.
But so and we didn't have any huge terrorist attack or anything. Like I just think back to like Clinton, Bush, and Obama years and all. We didn't have this huge financial crisis and whatever. Come 2020, I feel like had Trump just, and like I said, I'm not in any way supporting him or anything like that. I just want to state, like, if Trump had some sort of at least done a little something with the pandemic, or at least said, hey, wear a mask. This is what we're doing. Even if he took the laziest approach, he may have still won.
Yeah, I think so too.
And what's scary is he came pretty close to winning. Like in terms of like all the votes, like there was still a shit ton of states that turned red for him that you're thinking
that wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah. Like,
so my stance on it is, yes, you're right. Under most circumstances, presidents that run for their second term, they typically get it.
Yeah.
Because people like having the structure. They see what they have. And yes, if he had taken the pandemic was his opportunity to really take everything seriously and say, okay, this is going to be difficult. Let's take this seriously so we can protect people. If he had done that, I guarantee that this election would have been his. Even if he didn't clear the pandemic, even if he had not eradicated it, people would have been more like okay, all right, so this is my stance on it completely. Okay, we're getting into politics.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay,
it happens.
I hate the guy. I did not vote for him the first time. I did not like his campaign, which was based around fear and fear-mongering and racism and whatever else he could. But at the same time, it's just like, this was his opportunity to step forward and say straight up, like, okay, I'm being a leader now. Let's act like Americans. And he didn't even do that. He could have done that.
He could have done the laziest job possible with it, saying, hey, be smart about it, wear masks, socially distant.
Yeah. He never once advised to socially distance, did he? I've never heard him say that phrase.
If he did, I don't know. Like, maybe there was some weird or some rally or one news conference where he did say it, but I don't know. But as far as I can think of, I don't think he did. No. Like I said, he could have just taken the most laziest stance with it. Had even if he didn't stop the pandemic in its tracks and it still went the same trajectory it did, if he had just shown a little bit of leadership, I think he probably would have won. But like I said, what's scary about Joe Biden winning, and I'm not saying like he's scary, but it's just the amount of people that still voted for Trump even after him bungling up this pandemic so bad.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me. That's
what scares me as well, is that there's still a majority of people, they see these two candidates and they're like, well, one is a pile of garbage and the other is a dirty diaper. Well, at least we know what to expect with the pile of garbage. Like, yes, and it's not good. Like, that should be a sign.
God, like I mean, I voted for Bernie back in 2016. And I voted for Bernie again during this time because I wanted him. It was like I was really between Bernie or Elizabeth Warren for the second go around. And I'll be honest, in 2016, I did not like Hillary at all.
I'm on the same boat. I have a military husband, and he did not like Hillary at all, and obviously that rubbed off on me. But I was just like, you know what? I still prefer her over, because at least she has a campaign. When he was running, he didn't really have anything. But
yeah, because it's and what's crazy, I just watched this little mini documentary back about the 2016 campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Hillary most likely would have won had Bernie and Hillary actually come together probably a little bit sooner. Like once she got the nomination, had Bernie like told his rabid fan base to just be like, shut up, support her, all right? Because his fan base was rabid, like did not, because they thought that Hillary stole it. And I mean, of course, there was some shit that was found out that the DNC did do like some shady shit, but
whatever, they're gonna do what they think is going to be beneficial to them. I don't personally like either party. I just vote for the one that is going to benefit me, my family, my friends most.
Yeah.
Usually it lines up with democratic values, but like, yeah, no, Bernie was the reason we lost the 2016 election, though. I'm going to be honest.
It was his fan base, like his fan base, his voters.
It was him. He
you said it was him. Okay.
It's him. So he lost the Democratic nomination.
Yeah.
And could have very easily said, okay, I'm done. Thank you for your support. Please support this. But instead, he started going under the independent campaign for several months after. He was not clear and direct. Yes.
I got to look that up because I can't remember that.
He went under an independent nomination for several months after, and he kept getting donations, and he kept saying, I'm still running, even if it's not under the Democratic. It wasn't until
I forgot about that
election, and we realized, like, okay, this is a bigger threat, that he was like, okay, never mind, I'm done. But,
so yeah, Hillary could have easily have won then had he just unified with her. I personally, I agree with you on a lot of, like, I personally preferred Bernie's politics as well. I think that his are most in line with what I want to see in America. Yeah.
But I think he fucked it up. I think that if he had stepped back and said, okay, this is not about me anymore, this is about the country, I've got to show my support for this current candidate, because the other potential is I split the vote. And, you know,
that makes a lot of sense how Trump won, because Trump lost the popular vote and he barely won, I want to say. Like I'd have to look it up, but it was like not like he won electoral, college, obviously.
Yeah. He won because of the electoral vote.
Yeah.
And I still stand with Bernie. I think he's fantastic. I think that
I love all the Bernie memes right now.
I love the Bernie memes. Oh God, I'm seeing so many with oh man, I saw one the other day where he's just sitting on top of Mount Silver in Pokemon. And and I'm like, yes, this is so good.
Did you see him behind the DM screen, like the Critical Role DM screen and all that?
No, I didn't. Hold on, I gotta find this one because this is the one that made me laugh. But for the Twitch Hawaii group, one of the managers had photoshopped him into one of our event meetup pictures. Here, I'm just gonna send you the link here in Discord.
I'll have to check it out. I can't minimize that of the screen here because of the recording, but I'll check it out after we're done.
For sure. But yeah, he was photoshopped into this group picture from our Twitch Hawaii meetup, and I laughed when I saw it.
I love it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I know, like, especially after the whole, I've been open more about talking politics on the podcast, especially after the whole Black Lives Matter movement, because I felt like that was way too important of an event to not start talking up matters of race and, politics and injustice, because it's, I've always been, when I first started this podcast, I've always wanted it to be a welcoming, opening place. And, and I've always wanted to try to give a lot of people voices who may not have voices. And I don't have the biggest platform and all that stuff. I know that. But at least if someone out there can hear it and, they discover Mari here and they, hey, I've done my job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt like, especially after the whole George Floyd thing, it was too important not to talk about. And I've been more open to talking about politics. And while I have some views that people may not agree with and like and all that, but I've come to the point where it's like you have to, I don't know, you just have to have moral standing, moral character, and just be decent and empathetic and just I don't know. And there's so many people have lost that, and the fact that people are still supporting Trump after the insurrection, I feel like they're truly lost at that point.
I think so too.
Like I said, if that had not happened and he just bungled up the pandemic and all that stuff, and that was it, that was the end of it, whatever, he goes down as a shitty president. But the fact that I even put on Facebook today, and maybe it was a little snipe remark at my parents, but I put, when it comes to U.S. presidents, all you have to ask yourself, did this president attempt an insurrection to topple American democracy? If the answer is no, then they are already better than Trump.
I imagine your parents were thrilled to see that, but
and I know that's petty of me, right? But it's just,
it's true. I don't think that there have been no. I think that you're doing the right thing by making clear your stance. And if I may talk about this a little bit,
sure.
I grew up in a very really smart environment where I was around a lot of Black folks, essentially. When I was in Florida, not so much, but as soon as I moved to Ohio for my middle to high school years, I was in Cincinnati. There is a huge population of Black folks who live here. So yes, I got to see a lot of the stuff that I was like, well, why am I getting away with this when they are not? I got involved for real when I was in college, and obviously we don't see that here. So a lot of people don't really care too much about it because they're like, well, this isn't a problem for Hawaii. We love everybody. And that's not necessarily true. It's been something something called slacktivism, essentially, where you sit through and you're like, oh, this sucks, I got to do something about it. So you retweet something, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm doing my part. I retweeted one tweet. That's it. No, you've got to stand up and you've got to say what your stance is, because if you are ready and able to say this is something that is not acceptable, there are more people that will stand up and do the same. I'm white. I grew up in an Italian household. Both my family is Italian, but I am white. I've grown up taking advantage and receiving every benefit that exists from the system, which is why I want to do my part to make sure that the folks who are at a disadvantage, we can stand beside them and fight for them. It was when Ferguson happened back in 2013 where it became painfully clear that this is something that we cannot just stand idly by. And I've seen it time and time again where we do the exact same thing. A tragedy happens, a young Black life is taken, and we stand by and we say, this is something that's unacceptable, change needs to happen, and nothing happens. 2020 was the year when finally we saw something, and holy shit, it was fantastic. But it's not fucking enough. We need to keep going. We need to, I've seen a lot of improvements. I've seen like how you say you are bringing on more voices, more diverse voices. You're doing a fantastic job. There are other content creators that are doing the same thing, and that's great. And then you see like big marketing companies that are hiring like Black models, and they're using like they're showing more diverse voices. They're showing everything, but it was only for a couple of months, and then it went back to normal.
Oh yeah,
You're doing what you can, and this is fantastic, but we need to keep the momentum up. And this whole past month, I won't go into any detail about it, but there's been, especially in the creator space, there's been a lot of people who have been they've shared their opinions which have been pro-Black, and it's been stuff that they've been punished for by these nerd communities, and I don't think that they deserve it under any circumstance. And I'm tired of this. I'm tired of white folks being up in arms for these negative stigmas that are being given to them when fucking BIPOC have lived with this their entire life. And these stereotypes that BIPOC are going against, or that are being imposed on them, are way more harmful to their well-being, and in some cases, life-threatening as well. So, yeah, no, fuck your white feelings. That's what I said.
So what's like the answer to all this? Like, what can someone do? Like someone who may be listening to this and, you know, maybe wants to make a change. What can they do to help?
Okay, so there's a lot that you can do, which once you get into the habit of it, it becomes easy. The first is learning not to take personally what is going on. When the biggest concern that is going on when we're recording this episode, there is a Twitch streamer that was venting her frustration towards white folks, saying pretty much all white folks are racist. So, or she didn't say all white folks, she said white folks are racist. But she's not saying that every single white person I've met is racist. She's talking about the collective.
Was that the Star Wars one?
Yes, that's the one.
I can't remember. Yeah. Christina or?
Yes,
okay.
It is Christina. So people got genuinely offended because they're like, I'm white, so I'm racist. And that is not at all what that means. What she's trying to say is that the collective is that people who are white have been benefiting from the system for centuries, and they have done nothing about it. There are, of course, people who have gone out of their way to help others, and they're obviously exempt from this collective. But as a collective, you cannot argue that they have not been like sitting idly by or taking these. So the first step is to not take it personal. If people are frustrated, you've got to hear them out. The second step is to learn how to empathize. If you know someone who is suffering and you're not really sure why, the smartest step is not to ask them, because they're probably already in a pretty bad state. You should do research on your own and try to figure out, okay, well, why is this person feeling this way? What is the history behind this? And then if you're still confused, you can go to them and say, hey, you know, I'm still learning. I want to understand better why this upsets you. Please talk to me. And then finally, the most important thing is to support. So giving people the space that they need in order to promote themselves, in order to have their voices heard, and doing your best not to be the person like relaying the message. It helps when it comes from me because I have a platform as a white person, but it is not my story to tell. So it's important that you continue to have the diverse voices who are coming on here, who are talking, who are making clear, you know, what they need. And after they say that, you do, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So, yeah, by having your platform, and you're already doing this, by the way, like you said, you have your podcast, you have a platform, and you're saying, okay, this is not something I personally know, so I'm going to give this platform to someone else. And it doesn't have to be talking about racial injustice every single time, just talking about their perspective of magic, their like where they come from and how they have come to love magic despite this or that, or maybe not even. Sometimes there are people that don't feel like they've been wronged and they just want a platform to talk on. You're doing that. So,
no, it's something I've been trying to do since the beginning of this. Like, one of the things that I learned a lot starting this podcast, one of my first guests was Jadine Klomparens, and shortly after that was Emma Handy. And nice. And so I've always been aware of the trans community, but I didn't understand a lot about it. And one of the things that I never really understood starting this was especially non-binary people. Right. And so I had a non-binary person on. Their name is Chris. I'm so sorry if you changed your name, but from what I remember, I honestly haven't looked up the person in a long time. But they used to be a part of the Girlfriend Bracket podcast with Aaron Campbell, and there was a few others. But Chris, after I had them on the podcast, I DM'd them just like a bunch of questions because I didn't personally understand what non-binary was. Like, what do you like? What does it mean? Like, what does it mean to be this? And you know. Because I just had a lot of ignorant understanding of it, and I feel like that's one of the things that I think you said perfectly. Like if you as a person just you don't have to relate and even, exactly like the person, but if you just want to go and just understand and learn, like, especially like LGBTQ spaces, like, what does it all mean? You could be a person who may not like it, right? But if you just understand it and respect it, I feel like you're going to go a lot farther, a long way with it. And that's one of the things that being part of the Magic community has really taught me, is understanding those spaces. And now with a lot of the racial injustices going on, now I'm starting to have, because I've had a lot of trans people on the podcast. This past year, I've tried to have more women and more, not that I haven't had women on, but, have more women and more like people of color voices on here as well, too. Just like you said, either talk racial injustices, how they were brought up, or just, fuck it, let's talk, 5 hours of Star Wars or something,
Yes.
So it's, that's one thing that I've really enjoyed doing this podcast, is just learning so much about that, where it's, and what it's helped me with is understanding my children as well too, because of just the way kids are growing up nowadays is just so different. I mean, shit, kids are like so nice now and like so welcoming and open for the, I mean, they're still the asshole kids, right? They're still, but I mean, I love telling the stories of like when I was growing up, I couldn't even tell my friends I played video games. I'd be made fun of, like, and then if I told my friends I played D&D or Magic, I'd get beaten up.
Yeah.
And all that. Now it's like, it's so welcoming, so opening as far as gaming goes, and especially a lot more opening to like LGBTQ and, people of color and all that stuff. It's great seeing that stuff, and it makes me be able to understand like what my kids are, what they're thinking of and what they're going through, that sort of thing.
For sure. Something that I want to praise you on genuinely is the fact that you said straight up, this is something that I didn't understand, but I was still ready to learn. And there's a lot of people that just are set in their ways, especially within our like age bracket, where they're just like, well, this is what I know, and this is all that I accept. So the fact that you are willing to open up and learn and embrace, it shows that there is hope for the way that we are moving. And you have your daughters that are learning the exact same thing, so they are going to be the same way too. And I genuinely want to applaud you for that. I think that's something that's really important, and it's not something that's going to come up organically in any conversation. So I just want to make it clear to you that you're doing the right thing by creating this space and creating a safe space for pretty much everybody that comes through the door. So,
oh no, thank you. And like, I'll be honest, it's like every time, I mean, there's a lot of times I'll see something and be like, okay, that's dumb. That's dumb. But then I had to be like, oh, well, what does this even mean? And then it's sort of like that process of, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You sort of do that whole like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Just like, it's funny because it's, like even when I'm starting to see some people say like a lot of the ableist thing, because there's that whole controversy going on in D&D with, ableists, where there's this one person who made like a wheelchair thing in D&D.
The battle wheelchair? Yes.
Yeah. I can't remember their name who did it, but it seemed pretty neat. But then there's this whole thing where there's controversy about ramps and dungeons or whatever. I'm like, okay.
Like, are you really gonna like?
No. But the thing is, and what I mean by bringing that is there was something recently where I saw where it's like they want people to stop saying some of these ableist words, and my first thought was like that's dumb. So then I read the article and start reading it more and more. I'm like, oh, okay, and it's just. It just understanding where they're coming from. It's easy to have that reaction. Oh, that's dumb, and then just forget about it. But being me, I'm a very curious person by nature. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to understand where people are coming from, so you can sort of see it. Like I have some people on this podcast where we don't even talk Magic. I just ask them about their job. Like my guest before you. Hobbs from Goblin Lore Podcast, he's a veteran psychologist. So like pretty much the whole first hour of the show was just I was talking to him like, so how do what is it like being a psychologist for veterans and all that, and what are the age ranges that you're seeing? Like, are you seeing older vets starting to come now? Because mental health has had such a huge stigma for decades, and I feel like it's now getting to a point where it's becoming more acceptable to admit you have problems like that, right? Because it's definitely when you have depression or anything like that, it's not visible, right? It's not it's not something you visibly see. And so that whole first hour I was just asking him all these questions, and and I love learning that stuff. I had Justin Theoric 6 on. He does D&D with Merchant, and he has his own YouTube channel, and he's a what is he, a research psychologist? I'm so sorry if I got that wrong. He's I think he does researching for psychology or something similar to that. The whole pack was just him asking him like, what does that even mean? Like, what do you do? And I love that. I love that stuff.
It's good. It's good to have that sense of curiosity about you. That's how you know that you're going to continue to learn and continue to build a better world around you. And if more people were like that, I think that we'd be in a better spot than we are now.
Because I'll be the first to admit I'm dumb. Like, I don't know shit.
You seem like a sharp individual. You just haven't had the chance to learn. That's something that I think is important. Is most people, they're in a position where they're like, well, I don't understand it, so whatever. But no, you just haven't been given the opportunity to learn yet. And I think that that's the long and the short of it. And given this opportunity, you are able to shape the world in a better way.
No, and I like of what you're doing with that whole Twitch Hawaii thing. That sounds awesome. I love when I hear people try to build up local communities like that. It's something that I wish I had more time to do locally. I was actually working on something like that locally here for D&D, but pandemic and all that, but more shit.
Pandemic, yeah, I know, ruins everything.
No, but I love hearing those stories. So I want to ask you, and you don't have to say what it is or anything, but what do you do for a living?
I'm a glorified receptionist.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I have a degree in psychology. I got a Bachelor of Science, and I graduated, I think 2015-ish.
Okay.
But I don't use the degree. Every position I've ever held has been customer service based. And I think that if I wanted to do anything with my degree, I would just have to I'd have to go back to school, but I can't do that.
Is it hard to get something in that field in Hawaii?
Yes. The job market as it is just difficult. First of all, the jobs are limited. There's really not a lot of options. If I wanted to do anything that was psychology related, it would have to be something that is like in child protective services or something similar with the degree we have. But God, the entry level
that'd be so sad too. Ugh.
Yeah, I would just be like, I'm solid, thank you. No. But yeah, no, the entry bar is set so high because there's so many people that are applying. If I applied to it, even though the requirement says you have to have 4 years of relevant job experience and then also a degree, even if I met those expectations, they're going to choose a person who's applying for the same job with a master's degree every time.
I've been on that side because I used to be an IT manager, so I know that it's tough making hiring decisions because it's sometimes you get a person who's like really good, like really personable, and but then they just don't have the experience for it, and it sucks you can't take the time to train them the way you'd want to because it would take too much time and money.
Right. Yeah,
and that sucks.
Pretty much how it is here.
Yeah.
It is. And I don't think that I'm ever going to get a job that's within my field either, just because I don't have the credentials and I don't have the money to do it. And I probably don't have the time either. So,
well, I would say don't give up. You never know, one day, maybe in your 40s or 50s,
maybe
people go back to college and do it. Like, I want to go back to college and get my bachelor's in IT. I have my associates in graphic design, and I'm totally not using it. No, I used to know how to draw and do all that art and everything. So
I'm sure that you still know how. You're just dusty. That's all.
And I have no desire, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I feel that way. I think that the reason that I was drawn to psychology in the first place is because I like understanding how the mind works and trying to fit, like, it's one thing to say that I empathize with people, but it's another to genuinely like figure out where they're coming from. And I think that that's what I like about psychology. I don't love the aspect of being a psychiatrist. I'm not obsessed with using the degree. I take what I learned to heart and it helps me to build a better world around me, but I don't think that it's something I want to do on a professional level. I think I'd much rather be a professional streamer, if anything.
I mean, and that was something I was talking with Hobbs about. Like, if you have the backing to be able to do that, great, because that was something that's a relatively new field, like being a content creator. Like, and one of the things that would keep me away from even doing it is like, how viable is it, and how long would you be able to do it for too? Like, you know, there's the ones who are like super lucky. Like, you got the PewDiePies and the Dr. Disrespects and Ninjas and all that who the hell knows how much money they make, you know, with it.
It's a lot.
Yeah. But it's but for people who are just, you know, middle of the road, able to make enough, like, how long is that sustainable? That's my biggest worry.
Exactly.
You know?
I think that especially for a content creator in Hawaii, doing that full time is going to be like very difficult, if not impossible. I currently live in a 500 square foot apartment, and the price here is $1,400 a month. And that's just the rent. That's before any utilities. That's before any expenses in terms of like groceries and necessities and such.
Oh my gosh.
I would have to have, like, if I wanted to create full time, I would have to have like a consistent, like, over 1,000 subs a month.
Oh,
and
gosh.
That's not something I want to do. No.
Holy crap. That's insane. That's
It is. You're paying for paradise. So it's you know, like, I haven't seen the beach in like a year, but I'm paying for that by technicality. So
yeah.
Nice.
No, but that's holy crap. I know that's another thing that you know, my oldest daughter, she's going to be 18 this year, and I told her, you know, when you're 18 and you graduate high school, you know, we're not going to charge you rent, we're not going to kick you out or any of that stuff. It's as long as you're working or going to school, you're fine. You know, you're never going to have to pay rent or anything, because the rent is so ridiculous now. Holy crap. It
is.
It's scary ridiculous how.
I'm sure it's like pretty ridiculous in Florida as well, but yeah, here
it's about the same. Like,
yeah. Typically here you have like at least 2 to 3 generations of family like living under the same roof. Sometimes you even have like the 4th generation living there as well. It's absolutely crazy having so many people in one household, and under both circumstances it's like all 3 of these generations in like a 1 to 2 bedroom as well. So it's hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard. But at the same time, the culture is built around like having your family close together anyway. So it's not something that people are really upset about. It's just the fact that I have a lot of opinions when it comes to the public housing crisis that is here.
In Hawaii or the U.S.?
In Hawaii. I know it exists everywhere, but here it's very much, it's a little bit scarier, because think of it. You're on an island. There's very limited space available. There's very limited resources available. There's a lot of people living here, and a lot of them are living in poverty.
Really?
There was...
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. So...
I'm pretty ignorant of Hawaii. Like, I don't understand a lot of the...
And I will tell it to you from my perspective. I want to be clear when I'm talking to you about it, though, that I have not lived these plights. I do not know firsthand what it is like being in this position, because I'm not native Hawaiian. If you want to know the real, like, the deep down nitty gritty details, there are several resources online that can tell you more. But I can say straight up that there is, like I mentioned earlier, there's the job crisis, how there's very limited jobs available. the culture around Hawaiians as well is most people who are locally based, there is the culture around education is not as strong as it is on the mainland. There's like most local children are kind of taught early on, like, oh, well, you know, you don't really have to worry about school too much. You're going to go ahead and inherit like the land or the house or the business or whatever. But there's at this point in time, it's a lot of the local businesses, a lot of the public land, a lot of homes are owned by bigger businesses. So this is a culture that has been taught for generations, and all of a sudden they don't have anything to pass down. Oh, wow. So it's it's joked around about a lot, but it's unfortunately very true. There's one school that's out here, which is a private school, where if families want to send their kids there, they have to pay an arm and a leg for it. But the joke is that if you don't send your kid to the school, they're not going to college. And it's not necessarily because the children that don't go are just not taught anything. It's just because the school system is not as good at motivating these children to like reach academic success. It is a real problem, but the part that really hurts is the fact that as a result, there's a lot of families that are living in poverty, and there is the space that is there, but the reluctance to provide homes for these families. There's a rich part of the island. It's up towards the northeast shoreline. It's called Kailua Township. And there's a lot of military personnel that live there. There's a lot of rich folks who live there. Most of them are white because, of course, most homeowners in Hawaii are going to be white. But there was a space that was set aside where the state wanted to build public housing property that is there. And the idea was to build 200 more homes. And it went before the board of the Kailua home ownership. Wow, home ownership. that was twice in a row. I couldn't get that, but
that's all right.
They said, these people straight up said, we don't want to bring these kind of people up to our area. We don't want this kind of.
Because they're worried about their property values. That's why.
They're worried about the property value. There is over 1,000 families that have been on a wait list since 2016 for public housing. People who may be homeless right now, people who are living in unfavorable conditions, who have been waiting for years just to get an apartment for them and their families, and they're still waiting. And we can't build homes because of property values.
Damn.
Yeah. And then in the exact same fucking breath. Sorry, I'm getting heated.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
There's in Honolulu, where I live, there have been businesses that are buying and building condominium apartments, which will sell for anywhere between a studio for $400,000 to like a big place for a couple million. Yeah, and these are made specifically for the businessmen who are coming in from out of country to purchase and to stay in. So lots of Japanese businessmen, lots of Korean businessmen, people who aren't even Hawaiian, who are like getting priority homes before local Hawaiians.
Because they have the money.
Because they have the money. Because they can support the economy. Because they can make the governor richer.
Shit, it's God, and that's something that my wife and I have been talking about. Just homelessness, right? Because it's since this pandemic, and even before the pandemic, it's just getting worse and worse out there. And it's bad. I have to count my blessings every single day that I have a job that is able to support me and my family, and we're not out on the streets. Because there's been a few times that my wife and I have been together, we've come close to like, oh shit, we got to do something or we're going to be homeless,
right.
Years and years ago. But it's something that we've been talking about, that we want to do something to give back. Like, we want to help. Like, we don't have a lot of money or anything. Like, we can't. There are times like I wish I had so much money I could just be like, okay, here, build houses for everybody.
Right. That's just not how it works, unfortunately. Yeah.
And it's and I was sort of inspired by a video game that there's something I want to do eventually. It's inspired by the Spider-Man PS4 video game.
I have not played it, but I hear it's very, very good.
So in the game, Peter Parker's Aunt May works at this nonprofit homeless type shelter thing, and you can walk around the entire thing and see what it's like in the game. And it's like, it inspired me to like, I want to do something like that, like either start a nonprofit or just do something to help. And I told myself this year I want to start doing something like that. It's the pandemic sort of stopping me right now.
Yeah, I hear you.
But it's I feel like that's one of such a important issue in our country. Just the whole world, you know, right? Just because we could end homelessness tomorrow. You know, there's like, you know, Jeff Bezos or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk could end it tomorrow with all the money they have. And it's sad that, you know, because I love Star Trek, right? I love that whole utopian paradise of no one has to worry about money or anything like that. Everybody just works for the common good, right? And I wish it was like that sometimes. And it sucks that money has to be the root of all evils. It's like, hey, I love having money, but
maybe we shouldn't be placing so much, you know, stress on money. I feel like that's just to make people who don't have money worse off. I really think that your cause is an admirable one. I really hope that that's something you proceed with and something that brings you joy. One thing that you've got to be really smart about and careful about is that under most circumstances, there are families that are homeless because of, like, there are people that like lost their home or have no money, yada. But there's also people who have fell victim to other maladies like mental illness or drug
I know
addiction.
That's such a huge problem, especially here in Florida. It's friggin' like meth capital of the U.S. essentially.
I won't argue with that. Yeah, no, I was ready to go on to a tirade about how Hawaii has a drug problem, but then I was like, oh wait, I'm talking to someone from Florida. I really don't need to go into too much detail on that.
No, but I mean, and that's like another thing. It's and that just all stems back to freaking not only just racial injustice, freaking you got shitty criminal systems, for-profit prisons where you want those drug addicted people in and out of the prisons because, hey, that's how those prisons make money, because they can then charge the county and the state for that shit. And it's such a fucked up process. So it's like there's no easy answer, because as you start looking at, okay, we want to end homelessness, right? How do we do that? Because not everyone who's homeless is, you know, just lost their house because, like you said, there's mental illness. You know, how do we fix that? Okay, well, we need to fix healthcare. Fuck, how do we fix that?
Oh no, the whole system's broken. Oh shit.
God. And I work in healthcare, right? And what this is what pisses me off with healthcare. I'm just going to get a little tirade about it. Health insurance as a whole is a fucking scam in this country. I have what is considered really good healthcare overall, because, you know, my premiums aren't too high, my copay's pretty low, but if I need anything done that is outside the norm, I'm looking to pay out the ass. And what I mean outside the norm is, you know, not like a scan, like an X-ray, MRI, stuff like that, you know, not like stuff like that, but my kid had to get surgery on her knee because, you know, she took a tumble and busted it, and I had to pay out the fucking ass just to cover it, and insurance would only cover a little bit. I'm like, that was when I had to sell my first part of my Magic collection a couple years ago, where I'm like, or else she's not going to get surgery and not be able to walk. It's like, jeez. Yeah, and I talk to people outside the U.S. and they're just like, I don't get it. Why do you have to pay so much for it? You know, like,
why do we have to pay so much for this? This is just
freaking insurance companies want that money. Hospitals want that money. It's friggin', you know, I want to be able to go to the hospital or go to see my doctor without having to worry, shit, can I afford this? And and even in a privileged position such as I'm in, where I know I can afford it, all it takes is just for one accident to make me go poor, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary. That's what's scary. Like, it's you hear those horror stories of people who get cancer or they had to get some surgery done or something. And it's like, oh, there goes all your savings up. You got to put a mortgage on the house again. And it's like, it sucks. So, yeah, there's really no easy answer to fix it all. It's you try to fix one thing, like just take racial injustice for an example. All right, how do you fix that? Okay, you look at the police. Okay, how do you fix the police? Fuck, you probably got to look at the unions. How do you fix the unions? You got to look at who's behind the unions.
Exactly. Ask a question, get one answer, but then 3 questions with it. It's just
God. It's the same in politics too. I'm reading Obama's memoirs, A Promised Land, right now, and I've always kind of known, like, behind the scenes, because I've read a lot about what it's like behind the scenes in politics and all that. But just reading what it's like to be president of the United States, and I'm sure every single president except Trump has probably gone through this.
Is do you even consider him a president? What did he do? Like, honestly.
The two biggest, I actually watched a video about that. I mean, this was before January 6th, right? Because I was really curious, like, because, I try to look at everything like, okay, there had to have been something good he did, right? Had to have been at least one good thing he did, right? Because it couldn't have, every single thing he did couldn't have been absolutely bad. So my first thought was, okay, well, what about his tax cuts that he did? So then I started looking into that, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't really a tax cut. That was just a tax deferment. So that means whatever taxes we didn't pay for that, we're just going to have to owe when it ends. Oh. That sucks.
Cool.
And
Trump.
The only other thing I could say that he did well, but at the time I thought it was decent, was when he visited Kim Jong-il to try to make relations good between North and South Korea.
Yeah.
But then it was probably just him idolizing Kim Jong-il. Or Kim Jong-un, I'm sorry.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Probably just him idolizing him at the time. But at the time I thought it was like, okay, he really wants to try to get North and South Korea back together. And it's been, 60, 70 years. No, nothing happened out of that. But.
Just stroking his own ego. Just trying to get in with
the other dictators. Yeah.
He wanted to learn a little bit, pull some pages from their books.
Right? Oh, God, I shouldn't laugh at that, but it's like, fuck, man.
I mean, we know what happened.
I know.
Saw it. We were there.
I know.
We can joke about it while also acknowledging how fucked up it is. That's fine.
Yeah. But going back to Obama's book, it's the thing that really opened my eyes was all the good that he wanted to do, he couldn't get done, not just because of a Republican-controlled Congress, but all the other outside fucking lobbyists and corporations and all these other unions and everything he wanted to do to, like, pass, he just got freaking stopped.
Every single step of the way.
And it's just, holy shit. So, same shit's going to happen to Biden. He's going to want to do all this crap, and it's like, nope. He's going to have 5 million other people telling him, well, you can do this if you give me this type thing.
Yeah. It's not tit for tat. It's for the people. Like, come on.
Right. Nope. It's all about money. So that's a depressing way to end this.
Well, we could just circle back to talk about something good. Like, something quick.
Yeah.
When are you going to come and visit me in Hawaii?
When is this pandemic going to end? I mean,
oh no, we're coming back to the topic.
No, it's true. So my company, we have, like, hospitals, like, all throughout the U.S. and we do have a hospital system in Hawaii. So maybe one day, and if Magic Fest ever come back, I mean, even if they never come back, I want to go to Hawaii so bad. It's it looks awesome.
It's pretty fun. I wish I could say the same about Florida, but all that is
Florida?
that I want is a Disney World. So
that's a good part of Florida.
Yeah.
Well, and we've got alligators.
I like alligators. They're super tasty.
They are tasty. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
There was one quick question I want to ask you about Hawaii. This little bit of a sad topic, but so you know how Florida is in danger to, like, sink one day, right? Because of, like, all the sea levels rising and all that. Is Hawaii sort of affected by the same thing, or?
No, we're gonna be fine.
Okay. Is it because of the volcanoes that you guys have?
Volcanoes.
Well, no, I don't know.
No, it's good. So because we're currently living, I live on Oahu, and millions of years ago, the islands were formed by the volcanoes erupting and creating land masses. But of course, a lot of the island is very highly elevated. So as a result, if the ocean does continue to rise, we're just going to move up. We'll be fine. Obviously, the biggest defector here is the fact that we're going to run out of space.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping will happen is that the centralized hub for the whole state will move from being on Oahu to Big Island, which is where there's still active volcanoes there, but it's huge. Big Island is like, I can't even give you a word to describe it appropriately, but it's ginormous, and there's a lot of open space there. There's a lot of opportunities to really like build businesses there and build up the economy there. There's a little bit of the area which is touristy. Like half the island is tourist based, the other half is local based, but you can have all of your business there. Obviously, the biggest risk to doing that is that there's still active volcanoes which are there, so you have to be prepared for emergency at all times, essentially.
God, that's scary.
It doesn't happen often. I think that the last time where there was the eruption was last year, either that or 2019.
Oh my God, that's still scary.
It's scary, but also it's not, because it's just like it's lava flowing, and if you've never seen lava flow, it's
just casual lava flowing.
It's just casual lava flow. There's a drink called a lava flow, and now that we're talking about that, I'm like, oh God, I want one of those. It's like a pina colada, but instead of pineapple, it's strawberry.
Ooh, that does sound good.
Syrup. So good.
That does sound good.
Yeah. But yeah, you have to be prepared for that to happen, and that's going to be obviously one of the biggest things that you really need to be conscientious about if you're going to be moving your economy from one island to another. It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely an option. So we're not even thinking about that. Like, locals here don't care. I think that I think that the culture around Hawaii in terms of climate change is actually pretty solid. Most folks are conscientious of it, and they're trying their best. It's kind of been backset because of the pandemic, because a lot of people are staying home. We're consuming more energy than we have before. But beforehand, like very little homes have ACs, very little homes have washer dryers. Like,
oh wow!
No, I've never seen a dishwasher out here. Never once. Not even in rich folks' homes. Yeah, for the most part.
What do people do? Wash their dishes by hand? What?
Yeah. And then you have a rack that you place it on, and then it dries.
Okay. So you talk about rich people not having one? All right. They're peasants, okay?
To be fair, I don't associate with a lot of rich folks here. So my idea of folk is like someone who owns a 2-bedroom house. Okay. You own a house? Oh my God, you must be rich.
I mean, my house was not very my house was not expensive at all to buy. It's like, that's one thing I love with Florida is like just how cheap homes are in certain areas. Like the closer you get to Tampa, Miami, or Orlando, it starts going up. But it's like I'm probably an hour away from Tampa, and like my house was $100,000. That was it, and it's like that's cheap as hell. You can't.
That is cheap as hell.
and it's a pretty decent sized corner lot, like 1,600 square feet. In a corner lot. Yeah, it's...
What? I can't even imagine that. 1,600 feet for $100K.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
I mean, the price is... It's worth probably closer to 180 now. But I got lucky with buying it. But, I mean, well, going through this fucking flood and shit sucked, but...
Hindsight, right?
But,
yeah.
But, holy shit. So, no, I was just really curious, like, because I don't know, because Florida's gonna sink one day. And at least, oh crap, do you guys get hurricanes too a lot, or I think you call them typhoons, right, on that side?
Hurricanes, they're not common. We've had a lot of tropical storms that pass through, which if they keep at a faster speed, it would go from a tropical storm to a hurricane. The level is tropical storm and then hurricane level, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Category, sorry. So yeah, I grew up in Florida, like I said, so I dealt with hurricanes like every summer.
Yeah, we deal with it every year.
Exactly. And how do you guys deal with it? If the hurricane comes and it's below a certain level, you just stay put. But if it's higher than that, you leave. Right.
Yeah, like if it's Cat 2 or above, that's when I start getting nervous. I mean, I still get nervous about a Cat 1, depending what's happening, like where it's going to land and all that.
Maybe my parents were just aloof as fuck. They were just like, they didn't leave the house unless it was a category 3 or higher. Maybe that's just a St. Augustine thing, though.
Well, I think, yeah, because you're closer to the ocean there. Like, I'm a little bit more inland. So it's depending on where, like, if it landed right next to my county and started going west or east, I mean, then I'd be like, oh shit, okay, time to leave. But if it, like, say it landed, down in Sarasota and just went up, I'd be like, it's gonna be like a tropical storm by the time it hits me.
Right.
It's gonna weaken out. So
exactly, yeah. But yeah, so hurricanes gain strength when hot air mixes with cold air. Being in the middle of the Pacific and close to the equator, we only really get hot air. So the opportunity for a hurricane to really hit is not high, but if it does happen, it's devastating. I think the last time we had a real hurricane was like 20 years ago, and that one really, like, it messed up some stuff from what I hear. But since then, anytime the tropical storm season hits, it's just a whole lot of water and a whole lot of wind, and then it passes and then we're good. Yeah, but I'm scared if we do hit a hurricane, like everybody says we're overdue for a hurricane. I'm like, stop saying that, please. But
God, no, they say the same thing with Florida, like, oh, Florida's due for another major hurricane. I'm like, please, no. I mean, it's bad enough when we get, like, 2 tropical storms, one after the other. Like, I don't want a hurricane. Because even those can do some damage. Oh, for sure, yeah. One thing I'm grateful of is we don't have tornadoes like you guys have. Or does Florida have tornadoes? Or they do. Usually they're pretty weak. They're not... I mean, they can get strong, but it's rare. Like, it has to be, like, the exact right sort of conditions for them to be really strong. But nothing like the Midwest gets. The Midwest, that's like... I never want to, like, live in the Midwest because of seeing all those videos of giant-ass tornadoes. Like, hell no.
Yeah, I'm not interested in dealing with that either. Thank you. I'm good just not being in the middle of that. Thank you. But yeah, those are usually... So in terms of natural disasters for Hawaii, like, you have the volcanoes, and then you have tsunamis, and then you have, like, hurricanes somewhere down here.
Tsunamis, I forgot about that.
We don't get that, like, as far as I know, we have not gotten it in an extremely long time, but a tsunami is going to be an issue when there is an earthquake somewhere in the world, and that creates a wave that just keeps going. We had a tsunami warning last year. There was I think that is in the Philippines. There was a earthquake that was off the shore there. Yeah. And then the Philippines are, like, infinitely closer than
like California,
some other usual spots. Yeah, like California or Japan. So when it was coming through, we were just like, great, just getting ready. But thankfully,
that's
by the
scary.
time it's scary, but, you have options. You just have to get to high ground. You have to be smart. You have to be fast, and you have to be safe. But we were good at the end of the day. We were on top of it. Like I said, I'm in the Hawaii server, so there are other people that are keeping an eye on it too. So they're posting updates like, hey, here's an update. The wave's strength has gone down, or here's another update. It's no longer a threat. And then, that's it.
Well, shit, I feel like I learned a lot about Hawaii today. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will have to come visit you one day. Get out there. We are definitely going to have to schedule some Commander, though, on my stream.
Yes, I really want to play with you.
Like I said, as soon as I figure out more of this whole flood, homeowners insurance, if I'm going to have to leave the house or not, I can't schedule anything right now. It sucks. Because I've had to put off all my streams because it's like, and I had to put off scheduling more podcast guests too because I'm like, I can't do it.
I mean, you've got a lot on your plate. I'm really hoping that you're able to get everything sorted out. I know that it's a tough time, but I'm a firm believer in the ups and downs in life, that when you deal with the negative, the positive that comes afterwards is always going to be worth it. And I'm really rooting for you that this is as seamless a process as possible.
I'm hoping so. It's like we're fine on a financial front for it and all that because homeowners is going to cover it, cover a good chunk, and I've got and I had to sell the last of my Magic collection to even cover the deductible, which that sucked. I mean, I saw my EDH decks, but just everything else, I'm like, I have to. But besides that, as far as the financial, I'm fine. It's just having to wait and deal and like the unknowns of, do we have to leave the house? Do we not? And if we have to leave the house, where the fuck are we going?
Right.
You know, because it's tough. But I'll figure it out. It'll be fine. Just gotta keep telling myself it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I'm sure it will be fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you're gonna have, like, everything's gonna line up as it should. And you know, the worst thing that could happen is, you know, they tell you gotta leave your house and then you gotta find somewhere to stay, and then you can try to build a company for it. Like, hey, you know, it might fall within the money that they can refund to you as necessary expense, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
know if that's how housekeeping insurance works, but
it would be if I had to pay out of pocket for like a hotel for 2 weeks or something. They would expense me for it. But if I have to do that, they're gonna pay me up front for that shit. I'll be like, there's no way I'm gonna put up 2 weeks worth of money for a hotel for that shit.
Yeah,
you're gonna pay me first.
No, you should.
Yeah,
that would be the smart move.
No, but so where can people find you and your content at? Because it's getting over 2 hours here, and it's just
has it really?
Yeah, it's flown by like crazy, and like this is what happens. It's like I could keep going for at least another hour or so, but it's like I know you've got things you got to do.
You've got to get food. You got to spend time with your family. It's like
yeah.
It's over there, right?
Yeah,
almost 8.
Yeah, it's almost 8:00. So
okay.
and I know you've got stuff to do too. So let's wrap this up here. And where can people find you and all that?
For sure. So if you like me and everything that I'm about, I stream at twitch.tv/radicalmari. I talk your ears off at twitter.com/theradicalmari. I post pictures like once in a blue moon over at Instagram under the same handle, The Radical Mari. I am all about meeting people from all walks of life. If anything that you said, or if anything that I talked about today really strikes your interest, or if you want to talk more, I have a Discord community as well. I'm not going to share that link right here because that's like, it's a string of letters. Like, if you go to my Twitch, you'll find it, though.
Yeah, and I'll put links in the show notes for it, too.
Heck yes. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I want to take a second then as well. Zuby, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been an awesome opportunity. I love being able to talk about things that I'm passionate about, and the fact that you are equally passionate and we have this good energy back and forth. It feels fantastic that we can just do this. Just talk story, just shoot the shit. Just, thank you.
This is why I love doing it, and thank you again for coming on. I had a great time. We'll have to do this again, and like I said, as soon as all this flood shit is done with, I have so many people I need to schedule EDH streams with, but you're at the top though, because it's
yes. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for it. Like I said, all you gotta do is tell me when. I'll find a way to be there.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you via DM and all that. It's like I just hate that I can't schedule anything because I'm a by the book calendar person, and it's like I'm very structured like that, so it sucks that. But
life
whatever.
is like this. You're rolling with the punches and you're doing a fantastic job. And I will still be here when the time comes. So focus on what's in front of you, and we'll find a time for me to kick your ass in Commander soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. My Commander Tisa, okay? She's gonna win. I'm just letting you know that right now.
So I know we're supposed to end this here, but all right. So I don't know if you ever seen this, the Inkling Custom Salt Box.
That's adorable.
So in this is Grand Arbiter Augustin the 4th. He is an Azorius Control EDH deck. Probably the most degenerate control deck I own.
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah.
So, you brought it. No, I'm joking.
All right, no. I mean, I deserve this.
No. It's okay. No, it's so that deck, I don't even enjoy playing it because it's so fucking miserable.
Why would you play it then?
So I know we got to wrap this up, but the story is, so that deck was built because my local meta was so degenerate with like infinite combos and all that stuff. So I built it to counteract all my friends, and I've just kept it because it has a lot of expensive cards in it and all that. And
hey, when your house floods again for a second time, you can sell that deck then.
I don't want to though.
All right, I'll be the one to help out here. Thank you again for
All right, thank
having
you
me tonight. Take
All right.
good care of yourself.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
Good chicken night. Okay.
Hey everybody, hope you all enjoyed the episode. It was great. You could probably tell by the end there we were trying to end it, but it's like shit, I could have gone on for another hour, and it's like we had to just end it there. Great time. As you probably heard during the podcast, I don't know when I'm going to be streaming again. As of this recording right now, I don't know when I'll be streaming again, but you can definitely stay tuned and look at my Twitter or join my Discord or anything like that and find out when I am going to be streaming again. And also future episodes as well, too, because there's one more scheduled interview tomorrow that I have. And after that, I don't have any other interviews scheduled due to what's going on with my house. So definitely keep you all apprised. So hopefully by the time this episode comes out, it's all fixed and I know exactly what's happening. Right now, I don't know. So hopefully it gets all figured out. But thank you all again for listening and watching. Be sure to go follow Mari on all her social media. She's a great person. Had a really great time talking with her. So hope you all really enjoyed the episode and hope you all have a great night.